Hi guys, so I have been wanting to make a video about this for a really long time. I'm really not very good at like scientifically explaining things. I feel like I always make like tiny mistakes, but according to a lot of my clients, this is better to be dumbed down rather than scientifically said, if that makes sense. So I thought I'd explain this as simple as possible. I know there's so many people that talk about this on Instagram, but I talk about this with my clients all the time. Nutrition is something that I'm just probably more interested in than training, to be fair, on so many levels. So let's talk about macros. Let's just break this down. Macronutrients literally are the makeup of your carbs, proteins, and fats. Then we've got your calorie intake, okay? So we've got your maintenance calories. Those would be the calories that you're eating to stay the same way. Then you've got your surplus calories. Those would be the calories that would be if you wanted to put on weight or gain size, muscle, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got a calorie deficit, which is probably what you hear everyone on Instagram talk about. A calorie deficit is anything under your maintenance. So for example, let's say that your maintenance is 2,000 calories. Any calories under that would be considered a calorie deficit. For example, 1,900 calories would be a deficit if your maintenance calories are 2,000, okay? So now we've got that out the way, let's kind of dissect this a little bit more. So it doesn't matter if you eat high carb, if you eat high fat. I'm going to get into protein in a second, but let's just say that you didn't really watch your protein, your carbs, or your fats, but you were hitting your calories and you're in a calorie deficit. You would still lose fat. This means, for example, not that I'm telling you to do this, that if you lived off donuts, but you were still in a calorie deficit, you would still lose body fat and weight. So there are loads of scientists that have done films about this. Like, you can YouTube it, you can go, don't take my word for it, go like research up on it. So if you take that, try to take that element of things, and now let's just break it down and dissect it so we get some like healthy options going. So you're obviously not going to feel very good if you live off donuts or like loads of sugar and refined sugars and stuff like that, right? You're also probably not going to build muscle. So now we'll get into the protein factor. But the reason this is really important is, for example, I'll always have a client say to me, oh, Amy, like I had a bad weekend. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, I had a really good breakfast, a really good lunch, and a really good dinner. And then I had some ice cream and biscuits after. And I'm like, why is that bad? She's like, well, that's going to make me like put on weight. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not what you eat. It's literally how much you eat. Calories in, calories out, okay? And like I said, I know loads of people have made videos about this, but hopefully this is a little bit simplified, okay? So you should never ever think, oh my God, I had chocolate, it's bad. Me personally, from someone that has done chicken, broccoli, rice like 6 times a day, like every diet you could think of before MyFitnessPal even existed, I crashed and burned because I also wasn't having enough fats, so that can fuck up your hormones. So if you are under eating your fats, usually like under 30 grams, I would say, for a long period of time, that can mess up your hormone balance. It is quite hard to do. You probably have to be eating under your fats for a long period of time. But there are so many factors to things. So if I have a client that is always tired, or they're always craving sugar, or they're always hungry, that's not how I want my client to feel. I don't want my client to feel like they are struggling massively with their appetite. So I don't want them to feel starving, unless of course you're, really trying to get lean, very lean body fat for a shoot or for a competition. This is not usually how I want my clients to feel. So there are certain factors to this. So again, low fats can do that. Hormones, lack of sleep, and lack of protein. So let's get into the protein element of things. So protein is important for lots of different reasons. Yes, it builds muscle. Protein synthesis, we won't go into the scientifics. Like I said, I'm trying to simple this out as much as possible. But you basically need protein in your body to build muscle, to also keep you hungry for longer, or keep you feeling satisfied for longer. And you also need it to not crave sugar as well. So it doesn't just have one benefit. So trust me, if there was a magic pill that I could pop and it would have like 60 grams of protein in it, I'd be super happy, but it doesn't exist yet. So protein is probably the hardest macronutrient for people to hit. I think a lot of things are quite deceiving. So a lot of products that you see on the shelves will say high protein when actually they're not high protein. They'll be like 5 grams. And if you think about it, most women that don't train need an average of 60 grams a day. And women that do train should be having 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body fat. So let's say you weigh 130 grams, let's say you weigh 130 pounds, you would need 130 grams of protein. Some people will say like they need 2 grams per pound. I don't, you know, it's also very much dependent on the person, but I would always go with 1 pound per gram because that's probably enough for a beginner to even try to get their protein. If fat loss is your main goal, and you know, your protein is coming up as, let's say you've put on weight and maybe you're a little bit heavier, I don't expect someone to be hitting like 200 grams of protein. That's kind of irrelevant. If fat loss is the main goal, I'd probably just stick it to quite an even level because I know that people would ask that question, so I thought I'd answer it. I really hope this is simple, guys. I feel like I'm making it a little bit complicated. So the other thing I was going to say to you is, if you were just eating donuts and not hitting your protein, but you were sticking within your calories, you would lose body fat, but you probably wouldn't look toned. To look skinny is very easy. To look toned or lean is actually a lot harder. You do need the protein in there. You also need to make sure that you're not under eating. If you under eat, then your body actually stores fat. So this is also something that people don't realize. Anyways, I have made this video far too long. I don't want it to be stupidly long, but I just wanted to kind of make something quite simple. It's something that my clients talk about all the time. So the main thing I want you to take away from today is don't undereat. Understand nutrition, research it, type in some YouTube videos about it, make sure it obviously comes from a reliable source. Teach yourself about nutrition. My biggest thing with my clients is that whether they see me or not, they understand how it works, because what that is going to do is, if you understand how it works, you won't have all this like hate towards your food or like demonizing biscuits or ice cream and stuff like that. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to eat and people have seen me eat ice cream and they're like, what? How is she eating ice cream and she's losing weight? I'm like, you should be able to eat the foods that you love. Restricting things that you like eating is literally personally going to lead to binging. I mean, there are the odd few clients that I have that need to cut everything out just for whatever reason, but for most of us, restricting is probably gonna lead to a dangerous place later down the line. So I kind of go with the 80-20 rule. So like 20% of your day is made up of foods that you really like, and the 80% is wholesome, good choices, protein, blah, blah, blah. So if you get to the end of your day and you've hit all your protein and you've got 500 calories left and lots of carbs and fats, knock yourself out. But do not think as well that, you know, oh, avocados are good fat, so if I eat loads of them, like, I'm just gonna still lose weight. No, it's not how it works. It is calories in, calories out. So you just need to make sure that you are hitting your calories. If you're trying to lose weight, make sure you're in a deficit. Make sure the deficit is not too big. So I usually say a pound a week is usually like a 400-500 calorie deficit under your maintenance. Usually, like I said, everyone's different. I will just track my client and see how they're getting along with things. But you don't want to be eating like 1,200 calories. That is very, 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 very low. Obviously, dependent on age, weight, and height, how old you are and stuff like that. But for most people, 1,200 is quite low. So that might lead to some fat loss in the beginning, but you might find that you're stalling. And if you do feel like you're at a place where you're not losing any more body fat, you might want to look at why, and maybe this video will be quite helpful. Well, I am going to shut up now. I really hope that this video has been helpful. I hope I've kind of simplified it a little bit, but it is something I get asked a lot. On the other side, I will be doing all my live workouts on Monday, and I'm so, so excited to train with you guys. I need a kick up the arse just as much as everyone else, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe I will make some more topics on my IGTV. If you guys have any topics that you want me to talk about, then I am more than happy to make them. All right, bye guys.